I ask, okay, can you beat your dad or your mom? Yeah, I've been beating them for years. Yeah, but the parent still feels the need to tell their child, their performer, what to do. It's a mistake. I think parents should really get a hold of themselves and discuss things with their athlete. Find out how they feel about it. What do they think they're doing well? What do they think they need to improve? Let them tell you they're the performer. Now you can chip in and help them and discuss it. But if the tension rises and everybody's getting mad at each other, forget it. It's not going to work.
Welcome to The Golf Parent, where you get access to the best minds in junior golf. Today's guest is Dr. Dana Sinclair, one of the top performance psychologists in the world. Dr. Sinclair's worked with elite athletes across the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA Tour, IndyCar racing, the Olympics, and more. She holds doctorates from both Cambridge and Ottawa, is a professor at UBC's medical school, and the author of the incredible new book, Dialed In. In this episode, we talk about what it really takes to perform under pressure, how to help your child build resilience, and why confidence might actually be overrated. This episode is brought to you by Tour Striker, our exclusive training aid partner. Want to train like the pros? Go to tourstriker.com and use code GOLFPARENT at the checkout to save 15% on anything in the store, including sale items. That's Golf Parent, all one word, for 15% off at tourstriker.com. And now, the episode. Dr. Sinclair, I am absolutely thrilled to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I am looking forward to our discussion for sure.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a personal question here because I'm just curious. You're a performance expert and you're about to be on a podcast right now. So I'm just curious, did you do anything before jumping on? Any like breath work, any sort of personal kind of rituals or anything to get you dialed in?
I always have a couple of little things that I remind myself of before any kind of performance. So yes, I did. Breathing.
Share? Is there any insights there?
Breathing is always good just to get relaxed in your seat and then think about the task and sort of the content that you are going to be discussing. And then it should all go well from there. But there's obviously other things that one can do, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Absolutely. So let's get into that. So you've written a new book, Dialed In, and it's all about, I mean, you work with everything from the top surgeons in the world to a lot of different athletes across a lot of different sports and different fields. So I guess where I'd like to start is the top performers in the world. Are their brains just wired differently, or is this something that through practice and intentionality, they've rewired their brain? So in other words, does everybody have a chance to be a top performer, or is that something that's more inherent?
That is a big question. And, some people just are better than others. It's the way it is. But what really differentiates one performer from the next, the easy answer is talent. Of course, you have to take that in consideration, but it's definitely the incomplete answer. So people who are generally better, naturally, they can get to their best under pressure faster than the rest of us. But the good news is we can all learn to do it. Absolutely. That's what the book.
Yeah, that's what 100%. So I guess what prevents most people from being able to get to their best self? Like what are some common themes that you see, irregardless of the sport or the field? We're all human, and what usually stands in the way or holds us back from our best?
Well, everybody has their own performance style. So we all have sort of a behavioral makeup or behavioral characteristics that can help us thrive or can get in our way. So the main things that get in people's way really are many people are cautious. They don't take action. They sort of hold back and are a little bit passive, hoping not to cause a fuss, make a mistake, etc. So being too cautious is a bit of a problem for a lot of people. Another big issue is being impatient, being reactive, being, I suppose, insecure, a bit anxious, not tamping that down. That can be a big issue because then when you take that and you're impatient and reacting too quickly because you're rushing, that affects your execution immediately. And then people who are a bit perfectionistic, who always feel they have to be perfect or it has to be just right, those people get caught up in too much self-protection and too much worry about fear of failure, so they can never stay loose and shift on over to what they have to do in the moment. So when people drift over to trying to be perfect, trying not to make a mistake, worrying, uh, rushing, worrying about outcome all the time, if you stay too long there in that mental clutter zone, your performance is going to break down. You have to learn to shift when you drift.
Shift when you drift. And I know that's an awesome catchphrase. So let's get into that in a second. But everything that you mentioned, it sounds like it's all different ways of just tackling a fear of failure. Like, is it just that simple that everything just boils down to we're insecure, or we don't want to stand out because that could mean that we could be expelled from the tribe. We're worried about the outcome because that could mean that obviously it couldn't work out the way we want to. Again, fear of failure. Is it just simply that simple?
Well, it's nuanced to that. It is just that simple. Being able to know what distracts you or what messes you up in the pressure moments. That's very important to figure out. But I think you said there you don't want to be expelled, don't want to stand out, don't want to be expelled from the tribe. People love to stand out if it's for a good thing. People want to feel good about what they do, but we all go into self-protection because, you know, we really want that. But if we actually try and do it properly and we don't get it, oh my gosh, then it's me and I'm going to be crushed. Where it's easier to try, but not handle some of the mental things you probably should. And then if you don't do the job you want, then you can say, well, see, I knew it, or you're ready for it. I knew it, or it was because of that. It's when the excuses can come out. So it's hard sometimes to be honest with yourself in terms of what gets in your way.
Yeah, I feel like for myself, I've done a lot of self introspection, and I realized that what you just mentioned is something that's plagued me in my own life. Because if I don't fully give my 100% effort, then and if I fail, then it's like, well, I didn't really try anyway.
Yeah.
It's like a protection mechanism to protect you from not going all out. Because if you go all out and you fail, then I'm assuming that has your identity gets your world gets kind of shaken in that sense if you have a certain sense of identity. Can you talk about that a little bit, about how we have a certain sense of self or an identity and how that can be threatened by performance?
Well, certainly. And when you're really good at something and when something is meaningful, the pressure ramps up for sure. And if you look at professional athletes or anybody who has a skill set that they are good at, they start to develop part of their identity is based on how good they are in that area. And when that's faltering a little bit, we have nothing else to fall back on. So we get anxious, we get tense, we back away from the challenge of trying to perform well. Or, when you're bumping up against your own limits, whether they're real or perceived, that's when people get a little worked up. So, think of a player who has, a professional athlete who's played, say, 5 years in the NHL. By that time, that whole identity of that person is hockey. How good am I at hockey? If I don't play well, people aren't going to like me. People are not going to think I'm any good. I'm going to put my contract in danger, etc. So the skill and the performance becomes all about, the person, as opposed to having sort of a balanced view, a separate view of what you're capable of as a person and the actual performance that you give. So it gets muddled and it causes a lot of problems, especially at the upper levels.
So what I'm hearing then is that as you start reaching a certain level of success, it goes from a free wheeling approach to obtaining success to then preserving that success. In other words, you're trying not to lose what you already have. And in this case, it might be an identity, or the idea that you're a good hockey player or a good golfer or whatever it might be.
Yes,
Is that
you're
correct?
trying to prevent failure as you go up the ladder. Because say you're a 15-year-old um, golfer and you've obviously spent probably 10 years playing. Everybody knows you as, oh, that's the golf kid. That kid's really good at this, etc. School, all these other things are important, but you don't. give yourself as much credit for those or put as much effort into those often because you get so much praise and notoriety from being the golf kid. When you start to get better and better, everybody else does too. Obviously, things cave in a little bit, and it's harder and harder to get the results that maybe you once had. That's when the pressure starts to unravel people mentally.
How do you separate yourself from, I mean, you keep hearing this theme that, separate yourself from the outcome, that it's like, to focus on the process, or the
Yes.
process that takes, and then, let the outcome take care of itself. That's easy to say, but really hard to do. What's your advice there?
It is hard to do if somebody doesn't show you the process. Now, of course, again, think of, okay, there's a process that I like, that I use, that has worked well for me over the years with my clients. And we've sort of put it together over time. And it's basically, you can call it the shift when you drift process. So there's 3 steps, there's 4 skills. That's it. And if you can simplify your approach to performance in the moment, you can make a change very quickly. So step 1 is, okay, find out what does mess you up, what gets in your way, what frustrates you, what bugs you, what distracts you, what derails you. And again, it could be a whole list of things: outcome, results, stats, score, obviously. And everybody has to tick that one off the list because that's performance for you. It could be self-doubts. It could be reacting too much. It could be tension, frustration. It could be expectations, yours or someone else's, worrying what other people are going to say, negative self-talk, the weather, whatever. Because, say if you're golfing and it's bad weather, oh no, it's cold, I can't do it, etc. If if you don't know what those things are, like the things that are likely to hurt you out there mentally, you're going to keep doing the same thing. So that's step 1. And with my clients, most of them know what gets in their way, but I actually put a list down in front of people and have them tick off however many. Most people have 10 to 20 that they tick off on the list, which is a bit daunting, but not to worry, because once you go back and do a second round run through, you pick out the top 3 or 4, because those are the ones that really derail your performance. And the other ones, they fall by the wayside because they're not really the issue anyway. Point being, when you're stuck on your hot spots, we'll call them, or your hot zone, that mental clutter, your tension has no option but to rise. And once your tension's up, you can't think, you get tight, you can't execute as you normally would. So you got to figure out what those things are first so that you're ready for them, so you can plan for them. That's step 1. Want to talk about
Sense.
step 2?
I definitely want to talk about step 2. You got me at the edge of my seat.
Okay. Step 2 is, you've got to start thinking about your performances. On a good day, what am I doing? What am I thinking about? How am I behaving? What's going on a good day? Then you can start, because you've just done it with a bad day, you can start to figure out, all right, what kinds of things work for me? And I break the skills down into 4. 1, you got to get calm and stay there. 2, you've got to have some performance cues picked out, ready to go to in the moment when you start to get tight, or when it's a tight fairway, or when there's a bunker, right? 3, you've got to take note of your self-talk. And 4, you've got to start then to daydream a little bit more in a focused manner. So imagery, visualization, what do you want to call it? I call it daydreaming, because you've got to start rehearsing some skill improvements, maybe where you want to be, maybe see your highlights, etc. But I want people to treat it like they're daydreaming, because that means 10 seconds here, 30 seconds there, a couple of times a day. You're going to make a difference if you do it that way, rather than, okay, I have to now think about how this is going to go and how I want to behave out there, and have to do it for half an hour. That's daunting. It's not going to help you very much. So those are the four skills.
And that sounds, doctor, like a perfect pre-shot routine. First, breathing, so you get calm, and then you do some sort of performance cue. So maybe it's a rehearsal of the swing, or picking out something, and then you've got self-talk like I can do this, or like you're saying I'm going to hit a high draw or whatever the shot is,
Mhm.
and then you daydream or you visualize the shot and step in and do it. I mean, is that not describing the
That's
perfect golf routine?
that is, but that's the whole thing in terms of creating your golf routine.
That's beautiful.
You have to be careful though too, because there's no point in having this long routine that you take care of this and that and whatever, because so many things in a routine are germane to what you're trying to do, but it might not be critical to you in that moment, in that shot. So people overthink it. They haven't done the preparation before. They hear, oh, I need a routine. Okay, this guy does that. That pro does that. I'm going to do that. No, settle. Think about for you on a good day, what is working for you? Where's my tension from, 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's my tension when I'm actually playing like me? 1 being calm, loose, smooth, 10 being, oh, uptight, nervous, can't even think. So figure out when it's like a 5 or lower, okay, how am I walking around the course? What am I doing? These types of things. So you've got to sort of delve in a little bit deeper to get your routine. It can't just be taken from what other people do. You want to hit your hot spots, because if things are already automatic for you, don't waste your time. We want to hit just those 2 or 3 things that are critical for you to execute that shot well.
Hmm.
So, say I'm thinking of one guy, like all things were fine, but what he really had to do is make sure he reminded himself, okay, I've got to hit through and I've really got to finish high. All the rest, if you're starting to think about those things, it's just clutter. You've
Yeah,
got to get to
simplifying
the
it.
specific things. Yes. And don't have a long routine. Hit the things that help you.
So I want to linger on something here. So in step two, you had said something that like all of things that just aren't you. And so and what I think is profound in there is that what's actually you is at your best, is when you're performing your best, and everything else is a degraded version of you. Did I hear that correct? Like the anxiety or the fears, all the rest of that stuff is taken away from the baseline or the pure self of you, and that you is enough to actually win the tournament, or to perform at the highest level.
Yes, and I'm not suggesting that you have to be number one or perfect every time, just good enough. You
Mm.
have to know what to calm so that you can shift over onto some pre-planned task related items. Your thinking, the way you talk to yourself, your cues, those things, yes, you want to have picked out and planned out ahead of time. And I only say this because everybody loves a good routine, especially in golf. I'm not as worried about that. I just want you to pick out a few things that actually help you greatly. Don't fuss about the rest. And I'm not really into the, okay, think box, do box. I want people thinking. Like when you're stepping up and you're addressing the ball, there is nothing wrong with actually reminding yourself to finish high, or, make sure, over a putt, get your head down. You're thinking while you're doing it. It's not just leaving it to chance, because so many things can sneak in on you in those 2 seconds as you start that backswing when you finish, right? So many things can pop in. I want you to fill it with something useful.
How much can we hold in our mind at that moment? Is it one or two swing thoughts? Is it humming or singing to ourselves? I mean, you hear so many different things that seem to work, and a lot of it's conflicting too. I mean, some people just completely just hit to a picture in their mind of what they want to happen. Other people are telling themselves a few different kind of cues. Other people are humming or singing or counting backwards. Is there any right answer here? Hey, if you're enjoying the Golf Parent, if these conversations have inspired you or helped you become a better parent to your junior golfer, please hit subscribe. It truly means the world to us and sends a powerful signal that what we're doing matters. And if you're feeling extra generous, leave us a review or follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Your support helps us grow and continue bringing you incredible guests each week. Thank you. And now back to the episode.
No, except the best answer is what helps keep you calm and focused on the task in that moment. It's like an MLB pitcher, as a lot of times people aren't hitting when they're not hitting their targets, when they're not hitting their spots. It's because they're not fully extending out front because they're at the last second, they're worried about getting hit or missing. So they don't fully extend out the front with their fingers. And that means the ball isn't necessarily going to go to that target. It's going to be off a little bit. You see,
Again,
so it's
fear.
those 2 seconds. Well, sure, it's distraction. Don't want to blow it. It's very hard. And even at the upper levels, this is happening all the time.
Now, humans in general were notoriously bad at being self-aware. Are you a proponent of journaling, or like how do we know what is triggering us, what we're doing well, what our pressure? You had mentioned the gauge of like 5, 1 to 10. Like, is this something that we're making notes during the round? Is this something that it's like after a game we basically just kind of journal a little bit and so we can start recognizing patterns?
You can do it after. And what I get all my clients to do is, okay, you've got to check in with yourself. You've got to check yourself. So after whatever performance it is, first question, okay, well, basically, how do I do? Rate myself out of 1 to 10. 1 being lousy, 10 being brilliant. Give myself a number. Then what are my bullet points for, gee, what did I do really well today? Or what worked well? What did I like? Then a few bullet points of, okay, what wasn't so hot? I didn't like that. Then it's pretty clear what you need to adjust for the next time. So if you like to journal, that's great. I don't say you should or have to, but I do think that you should check in with yourself and do a quick evaluation for sure. Now, having said that, it is nice if someone lays out a structure for you to do this, which is what I've tried to do and dialed in the second half of the book after, busting a few myths out there. Get into, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. Here's how you create your strategies. Now you've got your blueprint, right? You've got, how am I going to calm down? How do I breathe properly? What are my cues? What kind of self-talk works for me? What are my facts? What are my accomplishments? And then, okay, what do I want to actually rehearse in my mind to see? Then, I've got a whole list of things. Then the third step is, okay, I got to put a little plan together, but it should fit on a sticky note. Doesn't have to be this big plan. It's too much. What fits on a sticky note? What are my cues? What are the most important things for this round? What's going to help me?
And is that step 3 of the process? Like it's step 3.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious. So that's the easy one. Yeah. But the hard part is the first 2 steps. Okay. So are you a proponent of almost taking on a different, like a black mamba type mentality, like when you step onto the court or the field, to help disassociate yourself from the results or the fear or the outcome? Are you a proponent of like actually stepping in as a different, an elevated character or version of yourself, which then could protect the performer, or keep it the same?
No, not at all. I want you to be you, but I want you to be calm-ish. Like the secret to all this is being calm-ish and being able to shift on over to, what am I doing in this shot right now? When I'm good, I'm doing this. Okay, come on. That's what I want. That's what's going to shift you away from all the distraction, not trying to be another persona, in my view. If that helps you, okay. But I don't see that helping people very often. I mean, they might use a lot of self-talk to talk themselves up into being more assertive out there, more aggressive, depending on the sport. But again, one of my golfers today, who's, at the U.S. amateur qualifiers, he was talking about, all right, I need an aggressive swing, but I don't want to be aggressive in my tactics. I don't want to start changing things and taking risks in terms of my target and trying, he's just going to play a little conservatively just to keep being consistent. But when I swing, it's going to be full execution, proper, assertive swing. And instead of talking about being aggressive, I always want people to think about what's correct properly, like what's my proper swing, what's proper execution. That's what I want, not thinking about the outcome. The only way you're going to get the outcome is if you settle down, set yourself up, swing the way you can, or as close.
How do we not, I mean, even by hearing the word proper, it implies, judgment, like this is a
Yeah,
good swing, this is a bad swing.
it is judgment.
It is judgment, and you're saying that judgment is good as long as it's in a system or an efficient way that you're judging, or at the right time or the right place. Because
Well,
oftentimes when you're playing golf or you're in sports, you can get down on yourself or beat yourself up because you're like, oh, like why did I shouldn't have, like,
of
you
course.
can judge it.
It's all judgment. I mean, no matter who you are or what you do, we all have to perform, but it's always about results. We all want results. We all want to be good at what we do. It's just hard to get that out of ourselves, especially when we feel pressure. Remember, I'm just talking about pressure moments. I deal
Yeah.
in pressure moments. Everything else, fine. Go do your thing. It's usually good. Um, Carry on. Keep going with that. You're making me think.
I keep going with that. Okay. So dealing with the pressure side and then not judging. Obviously, as parents, we can inadvertently put extra pressure. And kids are always worried about, the parents judging. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they a good kid? Is it like, how as parents can we help alleviate some of that pressure while still also keeping them right on the edge of pushing themselves and making sure that they're not just taking the easy way out and that they're developing that grit and perseverance?
Right. Well, they don't have to be, on the edge all the time. And okay, there's a few things we need to discuss in this one. First of all, back to the judging. I would rather you're going to judge yourself, but judge yourself on something you can control, like putting a good swing on it. Like that's what we want, right? So parents, though, they do push too hard. Do you not think there's a lot of parents out there that push too hard? They want to keep their
It's a
kids in
trend for sure.
trying to challenge them. That's what parents are for, of course, to help, support, challenge, help kids work out what the best way to work it out is, for sure. But I find, over the years, I found so many parents, they they need to check their own motivations. They're pushing too hard for what they want, what they think their child can do. And, I think nudging your kid very helpful and being there and, being honest with them in the feedback is good, but you don't want to be shoving them because they're going to then get self-protective and scared and not want to disappoint you. And they're going to take their mind off of what they are actually trying to do in the moment if you are pushing them too hard. You can't motivate them fully. They have to want to be able to do it themselves. I mean, nobody can outsource their own motivation. You have to be able to not just want something, but figure out how to do it, which is why I keep coming back to the process, shift when you drift. I might want to be world champion or whatever it is, but if I don't get down to how to do it, what's the point? Motivation's worth nothing if I don't settle and learn how to get to it in my tough moments.
Now, there's some confusion around motivation, I think, in many people's eyes. Like, what is motivation? How is it misconstrued? And, what actually is motivation sustainable? Like, is that the thing that actually can help us be great, or is there something that we're missing that actually is the key ingredient?
No, motivation is great, but I don't put too much emphasis on it because it's actually sort of a overworked concept. As a parent, I have to motivate my kids. No, you don't. They need to motivate themselves. You can help them by giving them whether it's coaching or different kinds of help for sure. But if they don't want to go, if they don't want to play at the highest levels, they have other interests in mind, it's not going to end very well, generally speaking. So, motivation really, in my view, is just the degree to which you want something, which is great. But again, I might want to be an astronaut, but if I'm no good at STEM, well, it's not going to work for me. So wanting is the first step. But if you don't move on to, okay, how am I going to do this? What do I have to do to get to my best in whatever skill I'm working on? Then you're going to have trouble. So that's why I'm always trying to encourage people to get off of the outcome, etc., and get on to how am I going to get there? Or what do I have to do skill wise or training wise to get there? And it's the same for executives or surgeons or actors or whomever. It's the same process.
These concepts are simple enough, but I'm kind of curious that obviously helping to program the operating systems of younger kids so that they don't have to work through or do a lot of reprogramming later in teenagehood or in adulthood. How would you simplify this even further to help maybe a 5 or an 8-year-old to really kind of understand how to think through performance, how to have a healthy relationship with outcomes, all the rest of it? Is there a way that we can even simplify this further for kids?
For sure. So the two skills that these kids need, that all little kids need: one, being able to calm down, learning how to breathe properly right now. Kids can use it for exams. They can use it for music recitals, auditions, all of that. Use it for sports, for sure. Being able to calm down is the one skill that everybody anywhere can use to their great benefit.
Do you have a favorite breathing technique?
I do.
There's so many out there.
I do. So, as I say, I work in pressure moments, so people don't have time to go and calm down. They have to do it right now. So the easiest way is within 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds is to remind yourself it's all about slowing my breathing down. Because remember, your emotions are connected to your breathing. If your breathing's calm, you have more room in your brain to actually think and focus. If you're completely wound up and tense and stressed and freaking out, you're not going to be clear in your mind at all. Correct?
100%.
Right. So easiest for me in terms of dealing with my clients, it's all about slowing it down. So one, use your nose. In through your nose, out through your nose if you can. But if not, if it's coming out of your mouth, it's like breathing through a straw. That helps calm you down, slow it down immediately. Think about the exhale. It's got to be a longer exhale. It's all about the exhale, because once you get all of that out, all the impurities out, you have no choice but to get an automatic inhale with oxygen that will help you. So nose, exhale, long exhale, tighten your core, breathe more out, and then remind yourself, drop your shoulders. Come on. That's it.
So you said drop your shoulders or like prop your shoulders? Like,
Get your
are we
shoulders
puffing out our chest or are we just relaxing them?
Get your shoulders out of your ears, because when we're tense, we go like this. So get your shoulders out of your ears. So nose, exhale longer, breathe out. Get your shoulders out of your ears. That's it. And it's funny because sometimes when you're talking to pro athletes, they'll think, yeah, okay. And then they start doing it. And then they think, oh man, because they've got all the skills, they're just not accessing them because they're too tight. They're too occupied. Last year before one of the playoff games, NFL playoff games, I got a text from a guy, and all it said was, breathe, baby, breathe, exclamation, smiley face. He knew that's the one thing he needed to remember to do if he was going to get off the line fast and do all this stuff. So, number one skill for all, even 5-year-olds.
Breathe, baby, breathe.
Yeah, breathe, baby, breathe. And, keep it short and slow.
I love that. And-
Don't worry about having to go sit down for 15 minutes. You've got to be able to do it now. Like,
yeah.
you know, well, you picked your target, everything's cool, but then all of a sudden you step up and you think, wait a minute, is that correct? You start to doubt yourself. Your breathing's off. You better be able to do it in one or two breaths. Come back down, pick your cue, and go.
Just as a to reinforce, not that you need it, but to reinforce what you're saying here, a couple years back I was training for a half Ironman, and I've never run a 5K before, didn't know how to swim. It was when my wife was pregnant, and the doctor was like, okay, what kind of husband do you have? She's like, well, what do you mean? They're like, well, all husbands seem to fall into three categories. They either become workaholics. It's like, no, not necessarily. They start taking on a project at home, so building a deck, renovating the basement. It's like, nope, we live in a condo. Or they start getting like aggressive into like some sort of physical activity. She's like, well, he signed up for an Ironman. So the story is that as I was training for my swimming, I'm very uncomfortable in the water because I don't really know how to swim, and you have to swim, over 2 kilometers. And so I put a nose clip because I didn't like the feeling of nose in my like
Right.
ears or in
Yeah.
my or water in my nose or in my ears. And so I had my nose plugged. And so as I'm trying to learn how to swim, I'm
Wow.
and I'm panicking in the water, and I'm training myself in I was at the YMCA in downtown Toronto, and I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do this. Like, I can't even get through this because I feel like physically I might be able to do it, but my mind is just panicking that I'm going to drown. And then I realized that as soon as I took it off of my nose and I breathed out through my nose instead of going I was hyperventilating, and so much carbon dioxide was in my body that my brain was panicking, literally panicking. I couldn't calm down. And as soon as I took that off and I was able to breathe out of my nose, I was able to finally regulate my system enough that I could actually get through it.
Well
So,
done.
anecdotal evidence, but it's so true. In and out through your nose if you can.
Mhm. And it filters everything, and it takes out the impurities and all that too. So it keeps it warm, the air warm. It helps for the respiration for sure.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, so why in through your nose makes sense. Why out through your nose again as well?
Well, out through your nose because you're trying to get as much out of your respiratory system, your alveoli and all that as possible. So this keeps it, as I say, warm and keeps the air warm so that the impurities can be more easily expelled. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because in your sinuses and all that air gets stored. So if you can be breathing in and out through there as opposed to your mouth, then you have a better chance of expelling all the
Yes, you've got all sorts of little things down your airways too. They're pulling out, cilia, I think it's called, pulling out sort of the impurities so that you can exchange, impurities for more pure oxygen.
that makes
So
sense.
this is a more efficient way to process.
I love that. Okay, so for the little ones, breathe, baby, breathe, shoulders relaxed. You
Yeah.
had mentioned there was a second very simple thing that all kids should learn.
Well, I wanted to tell you a story about a woman that I know and how she used it with her 2-year-old. So her 2-year-old was, as all 2-year-olds do, they can have a bit of a fit when they don't get what they want. And this one kid was getting wound up, face red, holding the breath. And the mom said, hey, just breathe, come on, breathe, and just, and showed the kid to do. And the kid was mad, but still doing it and then calm down. So getting your 2-year-old to just breathe a little bit, breathe out, any way you can get them to is very helpful.
I love that. So
So
again, it comes back to breathing. That seems to be the skill set to
that's
teach
number
all our
one.
kids. Yeah.
That's number one. Because what happens when you don't and you're tense, that's when all the self doubt comes in and the self criticism and the not feeling up to it, not being good enough and getting upset about making a mistake and people criticizing you because you have made a mistake. Because there's a lot of that outside effect from parents too, admonishing children, which of course you have to, but you have to be careful the way you do it. If you're constantly criticizing somebody, they're going to get defensive and reactive over time. And it's going to have an impact on how their sense of security. So what's wrong with just being kind and respectful? And I think what a lot of parents don't do is they feel their job is to to direct, to tell. They know better. They've been through it. You do what I say. I'm going to, help you take some shortcuts. Don't mess with me. And I've seen far too many situations where that does not work, and it causes, relationship problems along the way. So I really like parents to, yeah, you've got your opinion. You've got to, of course, challenge and whatnot, but with respect. And you don't know everything. And a lot of times these kids are even better than you. I mean, I have a lot of adolescent clients who come in and they are dealing with difficult parents. And I ask, okay, can you beat your dad or your mom? Oh, yeah, I've been beating them for years. Yeah, but the parent still feels the need to tell their child, their performer, what to do. It's a mistake. I think parents should really get a hold of themselves and discuss things with their athlete. Find out how they feel about it. What do they think they're doing well? What do they think they need to improve? Let them tell you. They're the performer. Now you can chip in and help them and discuss it. But if the tension rises and everybody's getting mad at each other, forget it. It's not going to work.
That
I
makes
see that
sense.
all the time.
100%. And I think that's a nice subtle reminder for the parents is that, your child is often better at whatever it is that they're performing than you are. And so to enroll them in their own, outcomes of like how to get better in the practice plans and their own evaluations, and just being that subtle guide that's there just to kind of be the bumper rails to keep them, moving in the right direction,
Now,
seems to be a healthier approach.
it is generally a healthier approach. Now, I guess I'm just cautioning people because as parents, I think we all need, I mean, I'm a parent too, um, of athletic, well, adults now, but you have to check your own motivations. What do you, like, if you're kind of over the line, what are you doing? Why? There's so much vicarious living as a parent, that it's damaging. And people unfortunately feel because I'm the parent, I get the say. You're living under my roof. I get to tell you what to do. I mean, I'm thinking of tennis right now. Players who have come to me worrying about losing, not because they don't want to lose, because if they lose, their mother or father is going to say, you lost. I don't want to keep funding you anymore. You should quit. If you're not winning, I'm not going to fund you. Okay. That is a bit of a problem. Now, if they're not training and they're not trying, okay. But if they are, not everyone's going to be world number one. Let's be reasonable here. Are they getting the most out of themselves in their performance moments? Then if they are, good for them. That's what we're trying to teach, because that will transfer to other things in life.
I'm a big fan of acronyms, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your WIN acronym because I really like it, and I think that the listeners should hear it as well.
My WIN acronym.
Yes, the what's important now.
I've never really thought about that, Ryan. Aren't you interesting?
Oh, okay. So it's kind of, I guess it goes back to our presence, like in the moment, like, hey, focusing on what's actually important right now. Like,
Oh,
what
right
can
now.
I focus on right now to make, I guess it goes back to our regulating our systems and all the things that we do. But do you have any, aside from breathing, do you have any advice on how to take us? Often we're outside of our mind and we're outside of ourselves.
Yes, but
And how do we get back into the present moment and focus on what we can actually do right now?
well, I want people to learn how to focus right now. I think people are very good at drifting off, getting distracted, taking themselves out of the moment, but they have a hard time getting back in because they're not prepared. So that's why I want people to know how to get calm and stay there. I want people to know what one or two cues or task focused ideas will help keep them on what they're doing. I want people to be able to direct themselves, talk their way through the performance. This is how to get into the here and now and stay there. Now you're going to pop out, sure, but you've got that little plan, that sticky note of actual things to do that will help you. Because when we get distracted and worried, we're all about how we feel. Feel, I don't feel good, I can't do it, this, that, the other. Worries about, mistakes, oh, that big tree there, etc. That's all about how you feel. That's not going to help us perform. Performing well is about, okay, what do I have to do right now? No matter how I feel, what do I need to do right now? Which is why I feel feeling confident is so overrated.
Why so?
Because if you're only thinking about, I feel confident, okay, I feel confident, that's great. Okay, that doesn't mean you're going to stay focused on the task and connected to what you have to do. It might feel great, and I prefer that, but you still haven't finished. You've got to take that extra step to writing down on that plan those few things that will help you stick to the task. Stay on the do. You got to do the do, as coach, the coach told me. Got to do the do.
And I guess confidence is dangerous in the sense of, because confidence is usually based on outcomes anyway. Like, you're confident because you've proven that you can do this time and time again.
Very
And
well.
oftentimes in sports, if you're going through a lull, or if something shakes that confidence, like, confidence is kind of a shaky pillar to be basing your performance on, I'm assuming. Is there something that's more stable?
Well, yes, what we're talking about, the process is much more stable. So
That's it.
confidence, yeah. I mean, you hear all the time, oh, you've got to believe in yourself. You got to trust it. You just got to trust it and do it. Okay, well, again, easier said than done. That's, I think, an unreliable
Yeah.
strategy. You might
When
want,
things are going well, that's easy, but when things aren't going well, not so easy anymore.
but still, things can be going very well, but you might not even be aware of what you're doing to make it go so well. That's why you have to drill down to get to those things. What am I doing? What am I saying? What am I thinking about? Simplify it, because we as humans are great at complicating things, especially when it comes to something we want. And that just gets in the way. So simplify it down to those few things, but taking a moment to be honest with yourself and think really, yeah, I guess openly about, okay, what do I really have to do here? Because, there's all sorts of excuses that we grab onto. But,
What's your take on superstitions? I mean, they work, they don't work. I mean, like, it's obviously providing some sort of, it's part of the process, and it's providing something in the minds of the athletes to give them a sense of calm and something. I mean, what's your take on
anxiety relief.
superstitions?
It's a
Mm.
way of dealing with your anxiety that I don't, personally, I don't like. I don't think it's helpful. I think it gets in the way. I've seen so many people cling on to useless superstitions just like because they think it's a routine. If I do this the same way, it'll all work out. Well, you've got to look at the content of your routine. That's what's the important part. But superstitions, again, if they're low level, fine. Oh, I like wearing my hat backwards or whatever. Fine. But if you don't have your hat that day, is it going to mess you up? Well, then we've got a problem. So low level stuff, sure. I want to turn the ball this way. Okay. But if it goes further than that, you know, I have to wear this, I have to do that, I have to feel this, then we're in trouble.
Hmm.
It's clutter. It's a derailer. Again, that's noise. I want calmness, calm-ishness, and focus on what I've got to do next shot. And you've got lots of time to walk around between shots too to get ready for the next one, or to distract yourself, or to sing, or to chit-chat to people. But you have to be tight when it comes back down to time to execute. What am I going to do? A superstition isn't going to help you.
My last question, doctor, is that, like, you mentioned that you're the mother of athletes yourself. Like, what would be, if you had an opportunity to whisper something into the ears of your own children before they're about to go take the mound for the game or to hit the ice or to, important golf tournament, what would be one thing that you would whisper into their ear and that you're hoping that's going to rattle around their brain for that entire game?
Can I have two?
Please. Bonus answer.
One, slow down, breathe. You got it. Like the got it is the self-talk, and then just talk your way through it. Talk your way through it. So that's two things. Direct yourself. Don't just go out there and skate around or go over the jump hoping. Direct yourself. One little aside, my same golf young athlete today who's in the midst of it right now, he has learned something that helps him a great deal, and it's the self-talk around the course. And a lot of people think, oh yes, I'll just talk to myself, I'll remind myself of this. But I tell people, nope, sometimes you just have to yap at yourself, because it's so easy to say something to yourself but drift away from it. You have to get into your own face sometimes and be tough with yourself and say, hey, come on. You've got to make sure you do this, that, whatever. Keep your head down. You've picked the line. Let's go. And he said yesterday, I'm just going to yap at myself all around the course, and I know I'll be fine. It's a good point.
Doctor, I lied. I have one more question. It seems like, okay, we've got this elusive zone that every athlete is chasing, like this where time kind of fades away and just every sort of intention that you have, you're just able to execute it with no resistance. Does activating that part of your brain that's talking your way through it, is there any evidence or is it counterproductive, or does it affect the zone, or is it I guess what I'm trying to ask is, the zone is an elusive thing that everybody's trying to figure out how you can systemize again the zone. As far as my understanding is, it hasn't been done yet.
Correct.
So talking your way through it, is that a way to keep your performance at a high level in spite of whatever else is going on, to make sure you're always performing at a high level? And then those rare moments that you do get into the zone, great, but it just raises the bar to a more stable level by talking your way through it?
It does. And remember, talking your way through it is one of the 4 skills that are very useful. You can use 1 skill, 4 skills, 2 skills, whatever. You just have to use one of them. But yes, talking your way through it is just one of the skills that keeps you focused on what you've got to do execution-wise. And if you can execute as you want to your skill level, you're going to get results. You're going to be satisfied with the result. It's going to lead to that satisfaction and confidence. So don't worry about your confidence. Focus on what you've got to do, because that is how you get confident. Now, last thing, if you are playing great and it's feeling good, don't let me bother you. You carry on. I just want you to be ready if it changes, because playing great is just as distracting as playing poorly. You're playing great, you're rolling along, yeah. All of a sudden you think, I am so good. I am doing great. Look at my score. Then all of a sudden you're thinking score, and you start taking, a cautious approach because you don't want to blow it, all that. So boom, you're back in that cluttered mental zone. Oh, now you've got to work your way back out again. Have your plan and stick to it.
And this is where Dr. Dana Sinclair comes in with helping systemize performance. And your book, Dialed In, definitely helps. Listen, Doctor, if people want to get into your ecosystem, your Instagram, your website, follow, work with you, what's the best way for them to find you and to reach out?
Instagram, Dr. Dana Sinclair, and or drdana-sinclair.com.
Oh, wonderful.
I'd love to hear from you.
Any final words to the golf parents out there? Any final advice?
Yes, in a loving way, back off. And in an equally loving way, talk to your kids. Ask them. It really helps promote their performance and their well-being.
Well said. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely do this again.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for tuning in. As a fellow golf parent, I know how much this journey matters. If this podcast helped you even 1%, please consider following and reviewing it. It's the #1 way to grow the community and keep bringing you elite insights week after week. And while you're here, check out the show description for exclusive discounts from our sponsors, handpicked to help your junior golfer train smarter and play better.